The BOCHK Wealth Management Jockey Club Sprint is up next. It's race number 7. Again, Group 2, 1,200 metres the trip. Headed by Lucky Bubbles as a Group 1 winner, gives £5 to the field, including the horse that beat him last time out, Mr. Stunning. Wizard of a little bit disappointed coming out of that race. Not listening to me. Last year's winner, Amazing Kids and Peniophobia, both behind Mr. Stunning. Lucky is first up since career. Dashing Fellow behind Mr. Stunning, as was DB Pin. Bad Boys first up, and Southern Legend sadly has been withdrawn, which leaves us 10 of them to go around now in the sprint. As far as the speed map is concerned, Bad Boy out there making the running. Mr. Stunning, who won the Premier Bowl, might find things a little bit tricky from out there in barrier 10. Yeah,
it's going to be interesting. He's probably the key runner in the race, isn't he? Because he has drawn wide. We know Bad Boy's resuming for Michael Freeman, and he's a 1,000-metre horse, so he's going to probably lead. Peniophobia, Lucky Year back from career, DB Pin, they're all speedy. Lucky Bubbles should get the ideal position from barrier number 1 to just sit 3 back the fence. But this, as you said, Andrew, is the key runner. Mr. Stunning, do they go back from 11, right back? Do they potentially try and slot in somewhere here? Or do they even take the bull by the horns and maybe try and match the speed of Bad Boy and get outside of him? If you go right back through Mr. Stunning's career, if you have a look at a race of his on International Day last year from a wide barrier, same distance, he jumped straight to the front and won. This is obviously a higher class, but he's the interesting runner. The option for them is a tricky one. All right, Nashra Willett has got the job in hand. What have you got for us track work, Paul?
Well, we're going to have a look at the favoured runners here. So we'll start with Lucky Bubbles. He's closest to us. He's working with Jumbo Luck, who'll be running later on in the card. You can see he's going nicely. He's going very well at the moment, nice and relaxed. But he always works well, this horse. He's going well. Mr. Stunning is the next one. He's come out of that win with no issues. As everyone said, it's just that tricky barrier draw that he has to contend with, but nice even work for him. You can see he's going nicely enough. And the Wizard of Oz, he's put on some weight. He's put on 15 pounds from that race, so he's taken no harm from it. Moving nicely enough as he comes down. Just nice, slow work for him. And they're the 3 main chances, I thought, so just thought would highlight. Nothing outstanding from them, but they're all working well.
They're just ticking over, basically.
Exactly. Yeah.
All right, well, the Premier Bowl is the race really to have a look at because the majority of the field are coming out of this, including Mr. Stunning, who gave weight to the field on this occasion and a beating. Comes in obviously better off at the weights now with Lucky Bubbles. He's here, he goes back to the inside. Of course, we've got Peniophobia, you've got Dashing Fellow, you've got Not Listening to Me, DB Pin, Amazing Kids in behind, and the Wizard of Oz. So many, in actual fact, we're losing them. They're dropping off. But a lot to take in here, Brett. I've actually run out of ink here. My finger as well. There you go. Mr. Stunning had them covered. Has he got them this time?
Well, the barrier's the key, isn't it? As you've touched on, Andrew, already. I mean, he gave away weight here and he was simply too good. You can see Lucky Bubbles darting back to the rail. Took a little bit of time for him to build the revs. I don't know whether he was slightly intimidated by Dashing Fellow's presence there, because as soon as he shifted out, that's when the motor began to click up. I'm going to stick with Lucky Bubbles because I thought if he could have won this race, he could potentially go through to this race and then on to the sprint and win both of those as well. I thought he ran terrific in defeat. So I'll be sticking with Lucky Bubbles. But, I mean, Mr. Stunning, it's hard to sort of be too negative against him outside of the draw.
Yeah, that's the key. Well, the barrier number 1 for Lucky Bubbles, I think this is his race. He'll get a really nice run just behind the pace. He got stuck up in traffic, as you highlighted, Brett, and got a little bit further back than he'd like. That won't happen, I don't think, this time, so I like him.
All right, well, Bad Boy, an interesting horse. He showed glimpses last year that he might make up into quite an interesting performer. Here he is trialling, Keep Moving's in the trial on his outside. The other 2 horses take note of the yellow and the striped jacket as well. That's Werther and Season's Bloom.
Yeah, look, he's changed stables now, Bad Boy. The blinkers will come on, the cheek pieces go on him. Blinkers come off, I should say. Chad Schofield, barrier 7. Now, this trial here is working. That's Keep Moving on the outside. He came out and won on Wednesday, and he's a really nice horse. And you can see they're well clear of anything else. So he's going well enough, Bad Boy. The question mark is he a 1,000-metre horse or is he 1,200?
That's the big question. At the moment, the record suggests he's a 1,000-metre horse, and he's likely to be overhauled, you would have thought, at set weights here by the oozing quality of the opposition. But interesting to see how he goes for Michael Freeman, because he's going to give them something to catch.
All right, well, speaking of quality of the opposition, they don't come much better than the Wizard of Oz, still to deliver completely on the track. But his jockey is Joe Moreira.
The Wizard of Oz, Joey's a horse that you've stuck with for a number of years now, even though you've had other options in big races. Why do you keep coming back with him?
I always have high faith on this horse. I think he's good. When he won his races, he was very impressive. So, in some cases, seems like I've done a mistake on choosing him, but I'm quite confident he's not going to let me down on the big races coming up. And this race on Sunday, I really think he's going to be right there with them. Now he has one run on his belt, and that's what he needed to be competitive.
What did you think of that first run?
Our fair run, I don't think was a bad run. He still came home strong to finish just 4 lengths, probably a little bit less than that, behind the winner. And obviously, having his first run for the season, I believe now he's going to be a little bit better, enough to be competitive.
And that barrier trial last week for you, did that show that he's back on track?
Yes, I'm quite confident based on that as well. He has improved since then, and we are just going to make sure that he is where we think he is on the weekend.
Standing there in that trial, doesn't he? He's obviously got lots of quality. Can he deliver here, though, Paul?
I think he'll run well. I think he'll run a lot better than what he did fresh up. He's trialled nicely, but he did trial really well prior to his first up run as well. I've got him on second. Lucky Bubbles I've got on top. I think this is Lucky Bubbles' race. Perfect barrier draw. He won't get stuck in that traffic, and I think he'll win from the Wizard of Oz. Mr. Stunning's got that awkward draw. That's the reason why I've put him down in there in third. And of the rest, I put DB Pin in. He races well over the 1200 as well. So I went 1, 3, 2 and 9, and make Lucky Bubbles the best of the afternoon.
Yep, 1, 2, 3, simple as that for me. Because Mr. Stunning's drawn that awkward gate, I think this provides a beautiful opportunity for Lucky Bubbles to win the lead up towards the sprint and secure himself, I think, as a marginal favourite over Mr. Stunning going into the sprint. The Wizard of Oz is the X factor in the race. We know what he's capable of doing. He didn't do much first up, I didn't think. But the trial again was brilliant. If he can stay in touch, that's the key. Amazing Kids is racing well. 1, 2, 3, 6. I'm going to go 1, 2 Q.